Okay. We're recording, so excellent. So I'm going to say I'm super excited. It's business planning month. Oh my gosh, can you believe it's October? So crazy. So that means everybody, we got to start getting in for our business planning. Now, I had hoped to print out our awesome advisor worksheets that I have attached in here, which we're going to go through and talk about. But considering we're on Bartaco's internet right now, we can't print. Super fun. But a technician will be coming out between 11 and 12. So hopefully we'll get all fixed up and we'll be printing before you know it. But we can still print in our other offices if that helps at all. So anyway, but you can start working on these things digitally and start taking notes. And there's a lot of things I want you to look at. So today with us also, after we go through some of the basics about what we're going to be looking at, how we're going to prepare for our meetings together, we are met by some wonderful folks. We've got Alan and Jesus from New York Life, and they're going to go through the 101 basics on how to prepare for really setting yourself up for how you want your future to look. Okay, so it all has to do with planning for the future in terms of investing as well. So they're going to kind of delve into that stuff that I don't talk about. Okay, so what I'm going to do is share my screen. Somebody just can you? I'm going to mute. Okay, there we go. Fabulous. Okay, so anybody who has not had the opportunity to download your business plan, what you do is you go into your hub and you're going to go into resources, right? And under the document center, you will see we have Peacer Assets, and I lied, they're under handouts, and the 2024 advisor business plan is there. Good morning, Christine. So you guys all see that, the advisor business plan right there. Okay, so I've already hit it and downloaded it, and it is right here. Now, those of you who've been with us for a little while, you'll see some things that are similar. You'll see some new things, some oldies but goodies, and some new ones that have been additions. So we're going to go through it. Anybody who has any questions, stop and ask. But there are some things you're going to need to print out from the MLS. So what I want you to do is look at year-to-date today, this year, and I want you to print out year-to-date last year in the MLS, okay? So, and you know what? For fun, let's print out the year before too. Okay, because last year was a skewed year. Would you guys agree with that? It was screwy. So I really want us to kind of look at, I mean, honestly, the last few years have been screwy with COVID, but I want us to try to get an idea of kind of where we've been at, what we've been doing, what we've thought has been really great, what we want to continue with, and what we really want to change, what we really want to do differently. But you can't get an idea of what you want to do differently until you know what you've done, right? So we got to look at the past to know where we want to go in the future. So definitely go to the MLS for that. That's the first thing I want us to do. Now, you want to look at this. It gives you a little idea of what's the contents. Now, this is a really great, this is new. And I really like this. Now, I have a one-sheeter that kind of goes through a little bit of this, but this is neat, and I like this. We're going to kind of finalize this and kind of do this a little different, but I want you to do this on your own too, because I want to know where your thoughts and your mindset are before we get together. We may change it, we may tweak it, we may go in a different direction, but I want to know what you're thinking about before we get together. So let's talk about, where do you think your best lead sources are coming from? Right? Are they coming from referrals? Are they coming from past customers? Are they coming from maybe some kind of online leads? Unlikely. Are they are they coming from real estate reviews? What are they coming from? Are they coming from letters that you're doing? Like, these are things that we've got to look at. Where are you getting your lead sources from? And let's be honest, if you're not getting any new leads, if they're just coming from people that you know and like, that's okay, because that's what this is all about. If you really don't have any good lead sources, that means that that's one huge area that we can totally change your business. So this is not to make you feel bad about what you've done. This is to make us go, great, we have something really terrific that we can focus on for next year to make a big change in your business, right? That's the point of this. I don't ever want you to look at this and go, oh my Lord, how depressing. That is not the point of any of this, okay? And I know that when I've met with some of you in the past, you've kind of gone, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. That is not the point of this. That's okay. That actually is exciting to me, because now it says to me, we've got more we can do for next year, right? The other thing is, guys, I want you to understand, nobody has to do the same thing as everybody else. right? So I've got some great callers. I've got some great callers they like to call. No, but let me put this out there. Hold on. I got to say something really honestly. Nobody likes to call. Okay, let's be honest. Do I have Luciana on? Do I have Andrea? Do I have any callers on? Carrie Bells? Nobody likes to call, but people like to get listings, right? The smiling and dialing is never fun, but to be able to control your business is fun. So it doesn't mean it's right for you. It doesn't mean everybody has to do it. But sometimes people try to eat the frog and then they realize the frog isn't so terrible. So it's just a matter of, are you open to it or you're not? If you're not, it doesn't matter, right? There's so many other things we can do. So I don't want you to think, oh, well, some people just love it and I hate it. Everybody hates it, but they get to like it because they get to realize, you know what, when you call somebody, they're just people. Some people are angry. Some people are happy. Some people, you know what, you're on the phone. What's the worst thing you can do? They can say something mean and hang up on you. How scary is that? Actually, it's kind of fun after a while. We used to do call nights and I had one agent, it was so funny. He used to change different accents every time he'd make a call. I just like to watch him. It was hysterical. But they're just people, right? So it may be good for you. It may not be. And it doesn't matter. If it's not your thing, who cares? Right? Who cares? This is not about making a one size, Mr. Lin Lu. It's not a one size fits all. Okay. And I want you to realize that. Okay. Now, we're going to analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, and your archetype. Now, we're going to talk about what your archetype is. For some of you going, what the heck is an archetype? Don't worry, it's on the next page. We're going to talk about what that is. And we're going to be honest as to what archetype you are, what you like to work with, and what you don't. Again, it's the same thing. Nobody has to do what you don't like to do because there's plenty of business to go around. We are ninjas. We're the mindset of abundance. You never have to work outside your comfort zone in terms of, doing stuff, let me get Beverly in, that you don't feel will be successful for you, but you do have to be consistently. Does everybody agree with that? Because if you're marketing to everyone, first of all, you're marketing to nobody. But if you're not marketing at all, you're not going anywhere, right? So we do have to be out there doing stuff and being consistent, right? So that's what this is about. But we have to be honest with ourselves. We all have strengths. Why are we going to work outside of our strengths? Let's work with our strengths. And, sometimes your weakness we can improve upon, but sometimes we don't have to. Right? We don't have to build up what your weakness is. If we want to improve on them, we can, but we don't have to make you, if you're terrible on the phone, we don't have to make you a caller. That is not our goal, right? We don't have to make you a superstar or something you're not good at. Okay. This is the question statement that we will fill out together. You can fill out what you have here as best as you can. We probably are going to tweak it, just so you know. But if you do a great job and you know how to do this, it's great because you got to work backwards when you do this. So here's the set. We like to call it, there's a system called YDX. Has anybody heard of that? And that is, you figure out what your wildly important goal is. What is that crazy goal that I want to hit for the year, right? So I want to earn blank in income. But the point is, why do you want to earn that? You got to start with the why. What do you want to do with that? And that is the most important thing. So even though I know I want you to start with your why. What do you want to do with that money next year, right? Or you want to take some trips? Do you want to buy some income producing property? Do you want to start setting money aside for college? Like, what do you want to do with that income? Because the problem is, I ask you how much you want to earn and you pick a number like this. That's a good number. Right? It's not a number that's true to you. It means nothing. And so that is not a good goal. When you sit down and go, okay, how much do I need to make? Okay. Now, if I want to take that trip to Europe, how much is that going to cost? But if I want to go first class, how much is that going to cost? Right? Let's think about it. Like Teresa, when you wanted to do your kitchen over, we factored that in, didn't we? I want to do my kitchen and I want to do it right. Let's put that number in, right? When I want it, I got to send my kids to college. I got to start planning for that, right? Let's put that number in. God knows, one more year, guys. We're seniors now. And my husband reminds me, grad school. Jesus Christ, it's never going to end. Anyway, but these are the things we got to plan for, right? I mean, because hope is not a strategy. We really have to put down on paper. Listen, do you want a new car? Like, think of these things. What are the things you'd like to do? What are the things you need to do? And put it all out there. That's where the number comes. Okay. That's where you get your number from. Now, how do you get to that number? What do you have to sell to get to that number? What does the total number of volume that you have to sell equal? Now, we can back it out. The best way to do that is we got to look at what your average sales price is. What have you been selling? That's why we look at your past volume. What has your average sales price been? Now we take that, we divide that by what we want to get to, and that's how we come to what we need to sell. And then we can say, okay, what percentage of that do we want to be listings? And what percentage of that do we want to be sales? And that's how we get an idea of how many sales and how many listings. Now, listen, you know me, I love 75% to be listings and the rest to be buyers. But it doesn't really matter how we do it. We just want to get there, right? So that's how you're figuring this out. Now, they're taking this to a next sentence and they're saying, to accomplish this, I must reach out to how many contacts weekly? Well, it's true, right? If your goal is to make XYZ money and that's going to equate to 25 million or 30 million or 10 million or 5 million, whatever that number is irrelevant. You've got to have a certain number of contacts, because if I talk to how many people a week, does that mean that those people are all going to be buying and selling? I mean, that's not reality. I wish it was. I'm a pretty darn good closer, but it doesn't mean when I talk to them, they're ready to go, right? So this is the other part of your business that I want you to think about. When you look at how many things you've sold, now I need you to think through how many other appointments have you gone on? How many listing appointments did you go on that you didn't get? Not that they didn't love you, but maybe they weren't ready, right? When you think about your listing percentage that you've actually closed on, you've really got to think about too, the numbers of listings that you went to that they didn't actually or weren't ready, because we've really got to factor that in to how many listing appointments you need to go to next year. Does that make sense? Because if I say, okay, I close probably 95% of every listings I go to. Is that true? If I'm going on some that are early, or if I go on some without the husband, or if right? You can't not count those. We have to count them in, because that means we have to have more appointments. So these are the things. It doesn't mean that you're a bad closer. It just means, are you willing to take an appointment if the husband and wife aren't there? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But we have to factor that into the number of appointments you're planning to take. Does that make sense? Buyers. I know some of you love them. I'm not going to say anything. But the truth of the matter is, how many buyers have you been working with that have not bought? It's okay. I'm not going to, you know, internally I might, but I'm not going to say anything. What I want you to keep in mind is that means how many buyers do you have to have in your pipeline at all times to count how many are actually going to buy? That's the reality of the buyer situation. It's okay. It's good. But we need to know how many active buyers you need to have at all times, because what is the percentage of buyers are actually going to buy out of the ones that you're working, right? Because a lot of times we're working with warm buyers because they're not ready to go. I wish every buyer we worked with was a hot buyer ready to go, and that would be fabulous, but that's not always the case. Would you guys agree with that too? So now use the 20-point business plan to evaluate your content strategy. Okay, does everybody know what that is meaning? It's a little bit ambiguous. That's why I'm asking. Does anybody know what that means by that? Okay, that has to do with your social media content strategy, or your email and your mailing strategy. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to get out there? What is your points? What are you trying to make about, you know, the niche that you're getting at? What is it that you're trying to make sure people know about you? So this is where I'm going to say we really need to understand, what is it about you that people need to know? Why do they need to work with you? What is it important that you bring to the game? We need to make sure that we're very clear about your content, right? They need to have a very strong feeling. Oh, I need to work with Denise because Denise does these things that nobody else does, right? Because listen, she can work with Brad, and Brad has all the same global. Brad has all the same marketing, right? But why are they going to work with Brad or Denise? Because Denise is going to do different things than Brad, and Brad's going to do different things than Denise. You need to know your value proposition, and it needs to come clear in your content strategy. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, remember your why. This is, to me, backwards, because that should have happened before you got up there and figured out the rest of this. Okay. And if I meet or exceed my goal, I will reward myself with. Well, we kind of know that, don't we? Because that means you're going to do the things that are on your why. Okay. And this is the archetypes. Does anybody remember this from last year's kind of evolve and they, whatever? No, okay. I'll have to look with that. No idea. Okay. So what this is this means there's basically 4 different buckets of, prospecting marketing where people spend time. You've got the prospectors, right? And these are folks that, okay, let's just go through them and then we'll talk about what they all do. You have prospectors, networkers, converters, and marketers. I'm going to tell you right off the top, there's one that I am not. Does anybody know which one I'm not? If just by looking at it, I'm 3 of them and I'm not one. Nope, I'm a prospector. I'm a marketer. I'm a networker. I am not a converter. That is your online lead person. The person who does a lot of online leads and just constantly focuses on online leads. Now, not to say that it's not a great thing to do, that these are the people who buy a lot of online leads, that work a lot of online leads, because that's a real nurture type thing. And I'm not saying that it doesn't mean you can't be good at it, but that's not necessarily who I am. The networker, every ninja is a networker, right? The networker is the one who's out there talking to people, real estate reviews, the ninja. These are all networkers. We're out there, we're talking to our sphere, we're building relationships, we're out in the community, right? These are probably what most of us are. I think normally we're networkers, people who are in real estate. I think everybody in this room is a networker. Would you guys agree with that? Did I miss anybody in there? Teresa, you became a huge networker this past week, right? Prospectors, I love prospecting. You know who's a prospector? These are people like me who love expireds. These are equity letters. These are expireds. These are, you have to use your skill. You have to constantly, you find the people you want to, share your information. You want to try to turn them, but it's direct selling. That's what it is. But it's still very, I don't want to say in your face in a bad way, but you are definitely speaking face to face with these people, right? This is prospecting. I love prospecting. I think it's great. Marketing, this is really a lot of good stuff that we send out. We are huge with marketing. All of the active pipe stuff that we're sending, right? Would you say that, Claire? The way that Premier Sotheby's is set up, we have so much stuff for marketing, showing that you're the local expert, the insider, all the reside stuff, the active pipe nurture campaign for buyers, nurture campaign for sellers, all of that stuff, building your audience, creating all of this social media awareness, all of that is marketing. So marketing is great, but you've got to be careful with marketing that you convert. Sometimes what happens with marketers is that they forget calls to action and then they just become good branders. So that's the careful thing with marketers. You've got to be really good about making sure you add the calls to action so that you get people talking to you. And then what happens to a good marketer is they end up turning the marketing to the networking, right? Because then people want to meet and now you've grown this network and suddenly you've turned the marketing, building this huge sphere through your wonderful content and all that into network, because now these people are in your network. That's like a natural course of things that happen with marketing and networking. Prospecting, if you're really good at it, you do the same thing. You find these cold, they're a little bit colder, right? Because they're on the cold side, because you just found them, they've expired, right? That's who I really like on them. Yeah, for sale by owners, I'm not a huge fan of for sale by owners because they're lacking usually motivational trust, but they're okay. But you've gone out, you've picked them, you've created relationships, hopefully, and you can turn them into the networking side, right? Because now they buy from you. Now you've added them to your customer sphere, right? And now they've joined that networking side for you. Does that make sense? So what you want to figure out is what is your primary archetype? So what that means is where are you most comfortable spending your time? You got to ask yourself that. Do I like going to the networking events, right? Do I like doing the real estate reviews and the one-on-ones? Like, where am I like spending my time? Do I like expires? Me, all day long, luxury expires. This is like my favorite thing. It's a little bit challenging. I love to take it at the end. It's like, I like a little bit of the thrill of the chase, and I always like to seal the deal. It's like, for me, that's my favorite. If I had to pick my favorite, like, I like the networking thing, but my favorite would be prospector. Second would be networking. Third would be marketing. That's how I put myself. Fourth would be conversion. They take too long. I don't know. I like something a little quicker. But I want you to figure out where you are. Now, where you know you've spent the time and you're good at, that's great. Where do you see your growth opportunity? Okay, I think I could do better marketing, maybe. I think I could do better if I maybe delved into that prospecting side. Maybe I could do a little better if I started to do more networking, because let's face it, Sotheby's is set up as the network. The GNE, Nashville, if that's not the number one networking thing coming up, guys, what is, right? We are set up as a networking company. So think about these things. Maybe you've never been to any of our company things. You've been missing out on the networking side. Maybe you have an opportunity to delve into that. Like Teresa, you just went your first one. So you've started that networking path and you like it, right? So there's a lot of ways to grow your business that way. So, and then we could talk about creating a little niche for you, and I can create a little referral group for you. See, these are things that I can help you guys do, but you've got to think about, what do you like? Because if you don't like that, you don't have to do that. You see what I'm saying? There's lots of other ways to skin a cat, if they say. All right, so that's what I want you to think about. And then you want to think about, and we could do this together, what tools do we have within Premier Sotheby's, within Sotheby's, the brand, and some tools that I personally have that I've created that we can use to help you in your new path in these archetypes, okay? So that we can set it up for next year. Because ideally what we'd like to do is do a little set and forget. If we decide to do marketing, we should have that whole thing set up. With your social media content calendar, we should have a lot of things preset that we know what we're doing. And then obviously you have to do your own content that you should be creating in our media center, which, by the way, Claire, right now we know how to use the green screen. We got the Apple set up. It's super awesome. Anyway, so great. Okay. Now here's your business analysis, guys. This is something you can use to help kind of figure out what your businesses look like. So how many active listings do you have? What is the listing dollar volume? What is the current number of pendings and transaction dollar volume? Simple, straightforward, right? Then you want to look at the last 12 months. So they call it the trailing 12. So from today, October 8th, 9th, back to last year, October 9th. That's what it is. So we don't really ever look, when we're looking at numbers, we don't look at year to date, we look at trailing 12. So we always like to look at what that time period of trailing 12 months to 12 months. Notice I always do that when I do numbers. I don't look at year to year because it may not be relevant, right? I want to look at the here and now versus the here and now of last year. Okay. And then you want to look at the new listings that you've taken this whole last 12 months. The dollar volume, this is key, your average listing sales price. Guys, it doesn't matter the average sales price on a purchase. And I'm going to tell you why. You did not solicit that. You might not have solicited the listing either, because if they're all referral business, it was handed to you, which we love. Don't get me wrong. But if you have gone out and prospected, you're in control of what that price point is, right? If we decide you want to make a certain number of, like, let's say, Carrie, I love working with first-time home buyers. Maybe you do. Okay, we know that's a low price point, don't we? Okay, but we know you have big goals, lofty goals. You're going to Europe, you're buying an investment property. You got big stuff going on, right? If that is the case, we've got to offset that first-time home buyers, low price point, with high dollar listings, don't we? So when we pick your prospecting community, we're going to pick a higher dollar community. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at your average sales price, we're not going to look at your buy side because you didn't control that. Now, if you don't have listings, we're going to look at your buy side, possibly. But I'm really going to look at, for purpose of your numbers, where we're going to prospect. I'm not going to look at your buy side because you didn't control that. But most of the time, a buyer comes to you, you don't know if they're a million, if they're 200, God help us, right? We don't know what they are, right? They're all over the place. But we know if we're going to be prospecting a certain community, we know the price point of that community. That's why we picked it. Does that make sense? We can only go off of what we can control, and what we can control is what we're going to prospect. Okay. So then we have gross commission. Nobody understands. Does everybody here get the difference between gross commission, adjusted net commission? Okay, we're looking at gross commission here. We never take into consideration taxes. We never take into consideration the commissions, that even what you're going to be paying on other things. Because what if there's something that you're going to end up paying, like credit, or, there's lots of things that you're going to pay. So that's why we just rather do gross commissions, because we don't know all of the ins and outs of all that, right? It's just easier to do gross. Then your average commission rate. This is important for you to pay attention to. I have a new thing I'm going to be training on. Came out so nice. It's for our commission conversation. It's our silver, gold, and platinum plan. And we just talk about all the things that they love us to do. Of course, all of the normal things and all of the extras and even more extras. And then we flip it over and we say, oh, it looks like Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you've chosen the platinum plan at 7%. And then if they don't like that, then we can negotiate. Well, I guess we don't need the flyover drone on your property. We can cross that out. You don't feel like you want the Matterport? Well, I guess we, okay, but you do definitely want the virtual staging. So, and then well, I suppose you don't tell all your friends and family because they can't do it for everybody. We could probably do all of this and pull that over and do it all for 6.5. How do you feel about that? You guys like that? It's a worksheet that lets them decide what things they want you to do. Because people love to shop. They just don't want to be sold. So I have that ready for you. Printed out, hard copy. They're beautiful. And then you could add to it, add more, write all over it. It's yours. Like it. Thank you, Claire, for getting that for me. Oh, it was you and Mackenzie. I appreciate you guys. So I want you to look at that. Then you're going to look at buyers. Now they have the same kind of thing that you're going to look at here. What I really want you to pay attention to on the buy side is how many more buyers you had that you didn't sell. Okay. How many buyers you were working with that did not come to a close. And I really want us to think, those of you who love buyers, Ms. Payne, are you on? When you're thinking about marketing, I want us to always think about, when you're thinking about marketing, I want you to think about, are you marketing to buyers or you're marketing to sellers? Because so much of our marketing really is geared towards buyers. We don't think about it. It's just driven that way, especially social media. So when you're looking at the difference here, where you can really adjust your commissions, if you notice, if you really want higher buyers, then if you're going to be doing buy-side commissions, make sure that your marketing is done for high communities, like new home communities that are high prices. Does that make sense? It's the only way you can really try to decide how much you're going to make up a buyer. Or you're actually showing your listings that are higher priced. Does that make sense? Because you're trying to get the buyers for certain properties. Okay. And then you're going to look at your referrals, guys, because this is the #1 company brand for referrals. And if you have not been able to really say how much you've been able to make off of that, you're missing the boat on that one, right? So let's really make sure we're adding the referral part into our business plan. Okay. Everybody good on that? Now, this is a worksheet that I want you to see is super cool. It's actually a spreadsheet. So when you do the little scanner, you're going to get a spreadsheet and you can play with, if I want to make $250 and my average sales price is this, what is my commission split is, it isn't, whatever. What is my buy side control? It will affect how much you make. So as you change the numbers, you can say, ooh, if I made a little bit higher on my sales price, if I went a little, I will make even more money. So you can play around with that and it's going to adjust and then we'll work on that together. Okay. So all you're going to do is scan this and it will open up in Excel. I don't know that it works in numbers. I can't say, you know me in numbers. As much as I am Apple, I do not like Apple numbers. So you can try that. Okay. But this is a great tool. And it can start you playing to see. So when we get together, you can say, this is my average sales price. But if I raise it to here, I think it'd be so much easier to get to what I'm trying to get to my financial goal. And then when we start looking for your community to prospect, we know the price point we want to be at. Does that make sense? This is your 20-point business plan, guys. This is what I don't want you to get upset about. It's a guarantee you're going to read through this and go, I haven't done that. I didn't do that. Nope, didn't, no. So out of 20, you're like, I did 5, if that is the case, good news. We have 15 things to work on. Okay. So don't be upset with yourself. Now, if you did 20, hoorah, we're going to have a nice plan and we'll be able to make it even better. Okay. But if you didn't, it is okay. Don't beat yourself up. It just gives us more place to work. Okay. And then here's some supplemental things. Again, this is more about the archetype, the things you can work on based upon what area you are. So if you're a networker, obviously where you want to build, the tools you want to work on, that kind of thing, okay? This marketing plan is a Carrie special. And I'm so proud that they've kept it in here all this years. And this is what we are going to do. Okay. Notice it has your business goal is obviously how much you want to make. And I like to do your how much you want to make, your volume, and how much you want to sell, listings and sales, and your why. But we already have all that. They put in here your 5 pillars of your authentic personal brand, but we want to know who you are and why you, right? What is it about you that is going to make you different, right? That's important. What are your core values? I want to know that. We want to make sure that we're always staying true to what our core values are. And these are really important. What differentiates you from other real estate professionals? But what experiences have shaped your real estate career? They've changed my wording here because they're missing what I'm trying to say. That is really not what I'm trying to say there. What you really want to know is think about through kind of the things you've been involved in. I'm an opera singer. That's something I'm going to put down there. I went to Florida State. I'm going to put that down there. I lived in New York and I was on Broadway. I'm going to put that down there. I'm going to put down all these things that I've done. Why? I am looking for potential buckets of buyers and sellers, places that I can create connections, that I'm able to find leads, that I can create possible groups and connections. And then listen, people connect with people they know and like. Listen, I'm going to connect way better to an opera singer than any of you, right? Because we all think the same. We're weird. It's true. I mean, they're weirder than me, but, because I also did Broadway, so I'm a little, more normal. But the truth is, we may go off and talk about Mozart and compare them to, yeah, it's true. We're all strange. And it's just, they get a little weirder, though. Like, that's all they talk about. But it's true. But what's cool about that is, they also have a lot of money. So we could be talking about that. I might be in a group of opera people. And then I'm in a home that has a beautiful music studio. I might share that and say, wouldn't this be great for your own studio to make some money? Because all opera singers have their own studio. Now that's how you mix real estate with your niche. You see how that works? This is what you want to do. That's how you build your audience. Does it make sense? So you want to think about how can you mix your particular group of people? Maybe you're into running. God help you. Don't make me run. Maybe you're into, working out, and you want to, you're talking about different types of working out. Maybe you're into culinary and you're into kitchens and cooking and this. So you're in this fabulous gourmet kitchen and you go, imagine somebody shared a great recipe. You can make this huge recipe in this kitchen, right? It's just very infrequently you sprinkle a teeny little bit of real estate into the group, only if it's relative to what you're talking about. Does that make sense? That is a great way, but it's better if you start the group, by the way. So this is something that we're going to talk about, but that's why the life experiences that have shaped your real estate career, I don't know why they changed the wording. That's not what I wanted to say there. That's what that's really about. It's about finding potential areas of opportunity for you. Who are the sellers you've been working with and the buyers you've been working with? Again, we're looking for potential avenues to make them meet. And marketing. So what have the things that have you done that have given you the best results? And let's talk about the things that you've done that have given you best results that we can actually maybe increase on. Okay, so great. You've been doing great with social media. How many things have you closed on social media? Let's talk about types of rates of return. Have you done anything? Let's bring it over to your YouTube channel. Like, how can we increase that, right? If you've done really well with that. Now, one of the things that you haven't used, but you really like to try to increase on. Let's talk about that. What things have you didn't work for you and you don't want to do? Let's just get it out of the plate. Let's never talk about it again. And what kind of things you haven't looked at all, but you'd like to kind of, maybe look into. That's what this is about. This is like our blank sheet that we want to look at, right? Things that we know work, but we want to increase this effectiveness. Things that didn't work, let's take it out of the plate completely. And things that we're interested in looking into, okay? Now, geographic farming. I really used to have that say targeted prospecting. They've changed it to geographic farming. I much prefer targeted prospecting. I do a training on that. I will do a training on that. There is a difference. Geographic farming is when you're sending out the same thing to everybody in the community. It's okay because at least you're sending out something consistently. I prefer targeted prospecting because that means everybody in that community gets something different from their neighbor. Do you think that's a little more effective? Absolutely. Can you mix geographic farming and targeted prospecting? So 1 month they all get the same thing, the next month they each get something different? Sure. But we need to do that. We need to pick our community, and this is how we pick it. What is the turnover? How is the community pacing? What's the average days on market? What's the average sales price? Then we need to know the profile of the people who live there. And who do we think might want to move there and why? These are things we need to figure out to see if we can match who we have in our buyer profiles and our people that we know. Because if we can figure out, we know a group of people that are living up in New York that might want to move to this community because this is a great community, it's close to downtown, we have young professionals. If we can match that and we can actually sell the homes quickly to our own people, guys, that is like fire. That's awesome. So that's why I have that question in there. See, when they change some of my stuff, they don't understand why I created it. Okay, and then to how you're going to be that direct community expert, you have to do something with the direct mail, an email drip campaign, digital social media. Guys, this is awesome. We can use Remind to download the people, then to find them and actually send them social media stuff. We need to be involved within that community to show we're the community expert. And then what is our targeted prospecting plan for that community? And then goals and activities, like what do you want to do for yourself for the next year? How do you want to make yourself better, right? Because this year, 2024 is not only about real estate, it's about you. How do you want to grow as a person? So, what do you want to do to improve yourself next year? This is like maybe business-wise, personally, whatever. If you're like, I really like to learn something new, whether it's for business or for pleasure, whatever that is, this is what that opportunity is. Okay, so put that down there. And then how many people do you want to add into your CRM? How many people you want to add on to different reports? These are important things because it is very important to have a CRM, because that CRM, if you do it right, is going to be selling for you. But you've got to know who's in there to be able to actually use it correctly. So the whole idea is to really build our CRM in a really good way. Does that make sense? So that's what that's about. And then in here, they have your transaction plan report. So if anybody needs anything on transaction plan, I actually created a new email for everybody that starts new. If you don't have one, I'll be happy to send it to you, because it has the two trainings that I did. One with Cheryl Wellman, where she taught how to use transaction plan. Don't ask me, I don't know. Your transaction plan is totally different than mine. So she taught how an agent uses it. And Dotloop, we did a training on Dotloop, and then I have another one just on Dotloop. So I'll be happy to send anybody who wants that training. It's in one email. And then it has some information on if you don't know, if you need to get back in or whatever. And then here it tells you what reports that you can pull to figure out, to run about like forecasting what you've done for the last year or two and all that. It can give you all of that information. Okay. Right here in the back of your financial plan. Any questions on any of that? You guys are quiet. Do you like the plan? Teresa likes it. Thank you, Teresa. Does anybody else other than Teresa like it? Lynn, you like
Carrie,
it?
I like it. Can I get a copy of all of those, please?
Yes, you have it. I'll show you where it is again. Share screen. You go into your MyHub and you go see from your MyHub. Let me go in my MyHub. Hold on. It's also in the email I sent out, but if you go to Resources, Document Center, Handouts, it's the very first one, 2024 Advisor Business Plan. It's right there. See that?
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Allen and Jesus from New York Life, and they're going to share some investing information to see, now you get all this extra money because we just made you so much more money. Now, what can you do to help your kids? Because there's some things like, for example, Florida prepaid, they're going to talk about it. I couldn't do that because my kids said, I'm not staying in Florida. So thank God I didn't do that. So there's other investment vehicles you can do, because when they go to schools that cost $85,000 and you go, excuse me, you got to pay for this stuff somehow, right? So they can help you with all that good stuff. So you can share your screen.
Exactly. Appreciate it very much. Let me just share it again. Everything now?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Good.
just for everyone, we're gonna leave you on mute, so.
Oh, yeah, let me
No,
mute
that's
myself.
Fine, if you can.
Not-
There you go, we're good.
Wonderful. So that we have a visual for all of those on Zoom. We'll start video. This is Alan.
Hi, how are you doing? And Jesus?
I'm Jesus. I'll be doing the presentation with you guys. So, all right, let's get started. You'll, first of all, what a leader you have. You don't know this because maybe you've worked in other brokers before, but she's phenomenal. I took a bunch of notes here myself of the content that because it's so powerful.
I didn't pay him.
No, but think about it, having a business plan, we're all, we're entrepreneurs. We're running our own businesses, so to speak. So we can be emotional and have goals all we want. But goals are for amateurs. Systems, processes are for professionals. So a lot of the things that I got here from her, tracking your numbers. How many phone calls are we making? How many appointments are we setting? How many buyers do we have? Your why, right? The importance of having your why, because we know that we need both logic and emotion to do this thing, because one of the others is going to fail at some point. If that listing doesn't go through, if we don't get the funding that we need, that's going to emotionally take a toll on us. But we have to, at that point, then use logic and know that we have systems in place to help us go. The controllables, the activity, powerful stuff. SWOT, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And understanding what are the things that we should start, stop, and continue. So anyways, I do this, I talk to, because of him, he's like the expert in helping realtors plan for retirement. I haven't seen someone create such a powerful, strong business plan. So please take the time to fill that out. It's going to help you so much. Not only plan it emotionally, but have systems and logical things in place. So anyways, enough about me, about her. Let's talk about us really quick. Thankful for the opportunity to be here. Obviously, you guys, such an important job. You guys are providing people an opportunity for the American dream, which is such an important thing. Can't thank you enough for the opportunity to sit here and talk a little bit about financial planning. We're all business owners, as we mentioned, and because I don't know, I haven't done a presentation for this firm. Do you guys get 401ks or IRAs, anything like that? So how are we? Let me get some involvement. How are we planning for retirement ourselves or financial planning?
I just take a certain percentage out of each transaction. And it goes toward.
To a financial vehicle of some sort. Awesome. Anybody else doing anything? No? Okay. So that's why we're here. I moved to this country when I was 11 years old, and I was raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs, 16 hours a day. Worked really hard for us to not only make it in this country, but thrive. And she didn't plan for the future. She just lived in the now, right? Survived, bought her house, did her thing. And this lady today, my mother, was my inspiration. She's 71 years old today, and she still works. In this amazing country of ours, we don't have systems that teach us financial literacy, so it's up to us to take a little bit of action and implement things to get ahead financially. So, all right, let's get started, Alan. Let's go to the next screen. So, we're with the largest financial institution in the country. New York Life is an insurance-based financial company. We specialize in retirement planning and investments, protection, all these different type of things. Highest rated institution in the country. There's not another financial company in the country that has higher ratings than New York Life. For me, that was important. I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to this. So I wanted to do it with the absolute best company that there was. So, ironically, we help our clients plan for their financial futures the same way that a house is built. When we first build a home, especially new home construction, we have to ensure that we have a foundation in place. We have to make sure that we pour that concrete. Once that's dry, and then we can start putting framing, walls, etc. We do the same thing with someone's finances. We'll sit down and talk about foundational things, which we'll go over that. And then we can focus on accumulation. Then later on in life, when we are at the age where maybe we can't work, we don't want to work, we can talk a little bit about preservation of whatever assets they have accumulated throughout their life. It all starts with budgeting. You know, we are in this world of real estate where we don't have the same consistency of income. So it's super important that we budget. We might have some months where we'll have 2 sales, so that's high amount of income. We might go 2 months without any sales, therefore we have to budget very, very well. So, you know, we take a look at household income, how much we have coming in versus our expenses, which that's consistent. We pay every single month our bills, that doesn't change.
Sorry.
And whatever, you know, we have left over, that's called our cash flow. Right, we take a look at household coming in, household expenses, whatever we have left over is what we call cash flow. There's two types of mindsets, and this is so powerful. There are those who spend first and save last. Or there are those that save first and then spend. What are we in this country? As Americans, what are we? Are we great spenders? Oh, we love the instant gratification, tangible, have to touch it, feel it. So the idea of planning for the future, like that's not a thing. However, that quick mindset is what changes everything. You see, the wealthy people that we work with, the ones who bring their kids to the office, they tell their kids, sit down and learn. And they pay themselves first. Then they pay all their obligations. So it's a mindset. It's simply a mindset saying, I have this money coming in. I'm gonna pay myself first. Then I'll pay my creditors. Then I'll pay the mortgage. Then I'll pay the credit card, the car. You see, but we have an obligation where we think, well, we have to pay the bills. If we have anything left over, then I'll save. Then I'll invest. But time is gonna go on. So you have to be selfish and pay yourself first. Save even if it's a little bit, 1% of your income, doesn't matter. Do something because it compounds. Let me ask a little bit of a disturbing question. So you don't have to answer out loud. How long have you been working? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, your whole life, 40 years? How much have you accumulated in assets for your future in that 20, 30, 40 years? How much time do you have left to work? You think the math is gonna magically change? It's not. It takes implementation and it takes taking action to be able to make changes. Let's go on to the next one. So let's talk about the foundation, protection. What do we mean by protection? Protection, we're referring to things, such as having wills or trusts in place, which we do with estate planning attorneys. Emergency savings, that's critically important. I don't take on a client unless I know that they have savings. They have to have a little bit of emergency savings in the bank for a rainy day. Debt management. We'll take a look at some numbers of how much in debt we are in this country. Making sure that we have insurance, disability income, long-term care, life insurance. Man, life insurance is so powerful. I don't talk about this often, but it's one of the things that propelled me to do this. My sister's husband died tragically at 34 years old. They had just bought the house, took off all of their income for that 3.5% FHA first mortgage loan. So they took all their savings, bought a home. A month later, he passes away. They have 2 kids. We had to pay for that funeral because we didn't want a GoFundMe account set up. But man, that's the power of having simple things like this that don't cost anything in place, changes everything, right? Think about this. What happens if you don't come home today? What happens after you leave here? Who needs you to come home and continue to provide? So we help with things that are so very important. Obviously, wills, powers of attorney, trust. A lot of individuals, especially wealthy investors, they don't own anything. They don't have things in their name. You probably deal with this stuff. They put a lot of things in their trusts or LLCs, especially investment properties. Emergency funds, we already talked about that. Debt management. Take a look at this next thing. I think it's going to tell us here. The average American is in 96,000 of debt. Obviously, this includes mortgages and stuff, but you know, school loans, credit cards, car loans. If we think about car loans alone in the room, for those of us who have a car payment, think about how much we owe on that car. So as Americans, we're in a lot of debt, and that's okay. A lot of individuals utilize debt as collateral to be able to invest in real properties, but we wanna manage it, right? We wanna ensure that we don't have more debt than we can handle. There has to be a balance, a good proportion, and we deal with this, right? When we're gonna get someone approved for a loan, we need to make sure that the credit cards are at a certain percentage so that we can boost their credit score so that we can get a better interest rate. I know how it works. So, the appropriate amount of debt is something that we help people manage. Disability insurance. Look at this. Over one out of four up to 20-year-olds, which we have one in the room. Wow, you look so young. Will experience a disability at something in their lives, right? So if you become disabled, how do we continue to pay the bills? So we help people with that. Long-term care. 70% of people turning 65 can expect some sort of long-term care need. In our culture, Latin, in the Hispanic world, our parents, my mom used to say as a joke, it's so funny that it became a thing, the power of words. She's like, I'm gonna live with each of you, because I have 3 sisters on my mom's side. He goes, I'm gonna live with each of you 3 months. Or when I get old. Because there is no such a thing as, planning for this type of stuff in our country. So, long-term care needs. Important. Keep going. Obviously, life insurance. There are different types of life insurance. I think this next slide will show us. A lot of people utilize insurance. People think that it's just I die, someone gets something, but a lot of people utilize it for the living benefits. There are two primary types of life insurance, which I think we'll see on the next screen. The first one is called term. Temporary insurance allows someone to do a lot of coverage for very little. Alan sets up a lot of mortgage protection for individuals. Individuals that buy homes, we just put a term policy in place just to cover the mortgage. Also, some other people utilize cash value insurance. Money they invest in it every month, throws money for the future in a guaranteed way. Similar to owning a home, this is like renting. That's like owning of a home. So there's different types of insurances that function in different ways. Obviously, the accumulation, that's the fun part. That's the sexy part of the house. Saving, investing, growing money for the future. And obviously, there's such a large array of different things that we can save, invest money on for the future. One of the things that we help people do is accumulate for college funding. Obviously, we have things like 529 plans for Florida prepaid. For those who have young kids, that's a really, really important thing for them. So helping people with college funding. Retirement planning, this is a big one. This is one of the main things that Alan specializes in, is helping people plan for retirement. We help individuals diversify their assets, making sure that they don't have all their eggs in one basket, but also diversify how these things get taxed. Because think about it, are we 1099? You receive a commission check, you have to talk to your tax person, maybe save some of that because we're gonna pay taxes on that, right? And we pay taxes at capital gains tax. So imagine that you pay your taxes and you say, okay, I'm gonna invest this $5,000 for retirement in the next year. And every year I'll do that. And where are you gonna put that money? Are you gonna put it in something that's gonna get taxed again? Are you gonna put it in something that's gonna get taxed later on in life? Are you gonna invest it in things that are tax-free? Well, they all serve a purpose. There is no one is better than the other. We should maybe invest or have things in all different things. So for example, what gets taxed now? Meaning that if we have 1099, we'll pay taxes that year at the current tax rate. Savings, CDs, certificates of deposits, which you get to banks. If we invest in stocks or mutual funds, real estate investment properties, when we sell a property and we have capital gains, right? We have profits, we pay taxes on that year. Cryptocurrency became a thing for young people. People were buying cryptocurrencies when it went crazy. Exchange traded funds. There's all these different financial vehicles that people can invest in, right? Those get all taxed yearly. We have things that get taxed later on in life, such as Social Security income. Have you heard of that? Anybody counting on Social Security income? You know why she's laughing? Because there is so much uncertainty. We have no idea what's going to happen with Social Security income, which is crazy. When Social Security income started in 1935, it was designed to be a supplement source, not the main thing. Back then, in the 1930s, the retirement age in the United States was 65. 62, I'm sorry. In the 1960s, they moved it to 65. Today, 67. Last report I saw was that by 2033, Social Security might be out of pocket. But that's one of the things, 401ks, 403bs, anybody has had one of those before in the past through an employer? Yeah? What happened with those? Do you guys still have them?
Yeah.
Or did we catch them out? You still have them? IRAs, those are all things that the money grows without getting taxed, tax deferred, but it's fully taxed at distribution. So when you are going to take that money out later on, you're gonna pay taxes. At what tax rate? We don't know what taxes are gonna be like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years when you retire. Why is this scary? Let's look at the history of taxation really quick. I won't bore you to death. Pay attention to this part. This part is probably one of the most powerful things that I'll say. So when the United States government ratified the 16th Amendment of the Constitution, this was in 1913. This is when the US government started income taxing citizens. They did it on a trust system, by the way, meaning that they sent letters to people's houses. And they said, hey, listen, we need to help fund World War I. That's why they did this. What percentage of Americans do you think contributed and paid taxes when it was optional? Yes, take a guess.
20%.
20%. Anybody else? 5%. Over 90%.
No.
It's not crazy. The state of it.
90%.
90%. Crazy, right? So
Yeah.
back then, the highest tax rate ever was 7%. Yes. By 1932, which is when the end of the Great Depression, highest tax rate was 63%.
Wow.
Highest it's ever been was during World War II, 1944, which was 94%. In the 1970s, it was 70%. Under Obama's administration, it was 39.6. Trump lowered it to 37, which is what it is now until 2026. You see, we're in a really low tax environment compared to what we have been historically, but as a country today, we're in over $31 trillion worth of national debt. So how do we think taxes are gonna be later? We don't know, so we hope people plan for that. Obviously, there are things such as a Roth IRA, we've heard of that, that are tax-free, cash value life insurance, gross money guaranteed, and it's tax-free. So it's different for everybody. We sit down with people and we figure out exactly where they stand, what's important to them, and what. Next. Obviously, we all feel different about risk. I am not, even though I'm in this world, I am not a risk taker. I just don't like risk. I'm young enough where I can take it. I can take the risk. I'm 22 years old, so I have plenty of time to be able to absorb. Very lucky. I'm not 22. I'm not 22. I'm really old. So I'm conservative. Some people are moderate. Some people like to be aggressive. So it all depends on risk tolerance and time horizon. How much time do you have to retire? It allows you the flexibility to be aggressive if you want to. So we help individuals plan for that. There's all these different financial vehicles that they can use to help accumulate money for the future. The last thing is preservation, ensuring that we don't run out of money in retirement. So in preservation, we have all these different things. Ensuring that the risk assessment is done, that if we have a stake to transfer over that's in place, ensuring that we maximize pension strategies. So if you do get Social Security income, we need to make sure that your finances at that point in life are going to allow you to not run out of money every month. Have you gone to Publix recently and seen the people that are working at Publix? Some of them are older folks that have to go back to work. Like I think about my mother every time when I see that, simply because they didn't think about these things, right? Establishing that we have the required minimum distribution. If you have assets, how much are we going to take out every month to ensure that we don't run out of money in retirement? So all these things that we worry about, probably in your late 50s, early 60s, so that we can still plan. Listen, she kind of hinted at this earlier. People don't plan to fail; they just fail to plan. You know, I saw this report, really powerful stuff, from the Social Security Administration about what happens to 100 Americans that start working at 22 and retire at 55. What happens to those 100 of people? So 12 of them die, happens. 13 of them are broke, meaning that they make in retirement at 65, less than 14,000 a year. These are people that are in food stamps and those DBT cards and stuff, or in welfare, things of that nature. So 25% of Americans by age 65 are either dead or dead broke. In this incredible country that I love and idolize so much. 66% of Americans, so the majority of us, retire at 65 with a medium income, with an income ranging from 14,000 to 65,000, the medium, the average being 27,000. This is most people. This is those that have to sell their house, have to downgrade, live with a family member. What happens to most Americans? And only 9% retire with an income of over 65,000 or more in retirement. Simply sitting down, planning, saving, prioritizing. So again, the concept is we sit down with someone, figure out what their goals are, which you'll see his process, the process that he takes his clients, where we'll figure out where they currently stand and implement things for themselves. So this is the process. We sit down and think about goals with people, where they currently stand. We prioritize those goals. We teach them, develop strategies so that they can take action whenever the timing is right. And Alan sits down with them every 6 months, once a year, to review how the investments are growing, review if we need to make changes. If you have a great year and you need to invest more, great, you can. If you didn't, and we need to invest less this year, great, we can. The client almost has complete control of what they do, when they do it, obviously. The power is starting and being consistent, because money compounds. It's called the compound effect. Money compounds significantly if you're systematic about it, not sporadic. Systematic versus sporadic. Yep, same process. Let me stop here and take a couple of minutes for questions. I'll take 3 questions. She won't let me leave unless I answer it for you.
Anybody have any questions about school funding? Anybody have any questions about 401ks, or does it work with the 401k if you are not employed?
401k is a employer
That's what I
plan.
meant. So you can't be 401k, so you just do any mutual funds.
IRAs, yeah, IRAs, it stands for individual retirement account, brokerage accounts, mutual funds, it's all the same
Mutual
thing.
funds. Mhm.
It's all, it's an investment vehicle.
So do you have self-directed funds or just, and do you have, the same kind of fee and self-directed fund as you would on a fund that you guys work on, or how does that work?
The fees are all different depending on the mutual fund families.
Okay,
Yeah, every family, every mutual fund family has a different fee structure.
oh, okay.
Now us,
Mhm.
we don't charge a fee when we sit down with somebody.
Mhm.
So essentially, when I talked to Carrie, kind of discussed sitting down and talking with you, she was, clearly I was taking notes as well, just like Jesus. She's very concerned about your guys' sales, transactions, things like that. More importantly, or equally, is your long-term financial goals. Not just succeeding as a real estate agent today, but long-term. And that's why we were kind of talking about options and things that we have available to you guys. Partnering with New York Life and Sotheby's means that we will be able to sit down with you guys at 0 cost. So we're not going to charge you $1,000 to sit down and talk and put together a strategy. What we're doing essentially is a partnership. We want to see you guys succeed. Carrie wants to see you guys succeed. So what we'll do is over the course of the next few days, I'll just reach out to each of you, kind of talk to you, find out what a good time would be to sit down and meet. We'll do a one-on-one, either here in the office or via Zoom, whatever's more convenient for you guys. And like Jesus was saying, we'll just kind of talk about your goals. What is it you want to accomplish? As I look around the room, there's a lot of different people in different stages of life, and each of you are going to have your own needs. So there's not a one-size-fits-all kind of plan, right? Some of you are just starting out in life. Some of you are looking at wanting to retire soon. Some of you are looking at trying to figure out, am I going to be able to retire? We want to be able to help you with that. So the process is really simple. It's really just a conversation. We talk, takes about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on your situation or how involved you want to be. Find out, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? What's your time horizon to get there? Once we've had that conversation, my team will sit down, basically put together a strategy for each of you. We get together about a week later and kind of say, okay, based on what you want to accomplish, here's what we're looking at. Here are the vehicles that are going to make the most sense for you. Here's, based on your budget and how much you have, per month that you want to be able to invest, because everybody's gonna be different. Some people may come to me and say, hey, I've got $5,000 a month, and some people come and say, hey, I've got $50 a month. That's okay. We have a budget for everybody. We don't have packages or plans. Everything is just simply based on helping you guys invest in your future, which is great because a little bit different than you all, we don't have a product that we're trying to sell, right? You guys are trying to sell homes. We're not, there's not a product that, hey, you need to buy this thing that I'm trying to sell you. It's essentially you telling us, we want to invest. We want to be able to provide for our future. I don't want to continue having to sell houses into my 60s and 70s while I'm making 6 figures now. I want to be able to, generate assets and create that wealth so that I'm going to be able to retire one day and travel and do the things I love and want to be able to do. So we just simply help you with that no matter what your budgets are. So it's really a pretty simple process. So the costs, like you're saying, for you guys, the cost is 0, which makes it really, really nice. Yeah. What other questions? Is there any?
So you'll leave some information for everybody so they can reach out to you?
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is, Karen, she'll give me your roster and I'll just send an email out to everybody, because I know there's a lot of
It's better
people
if
who
you
are.
send it to me and then I'll send it to the.
Yeah, that's fine too.
distribution list.
Yeah.
That'll work out.
Yeah, we can do that, and then that way you guys will have the information. I'll reach out to everybody one-on-one. If you guys have any questions, we'll stick around for a few minutes after the meeting. I'd love to shake hands and meet you guys a little bit.
Well, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate you. Start setting up meetings with me one-on-one and